10 abandoned cities and towns around the world you can visit. When you think of ghost towns, you probably imagine some abandoned mining town in the Old West, complete with dusty saloons and tumbleweeds. But empty cities can be found far beyond where the hypothetical buffalo roam. We're talking some of the farthest stretches of the planet. Yep, even Antarctica. Their abandonment stories are just as varied. Villages crumbling during earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Entire cities evacuated after nuclear disasters. Towns being taken over in wartime. And okay, some of them really do read like a John Ford film. Many things can define a city, from its food and culture to its residents. But what happens when you take that all away? Take a look at these 10 abandoned cities around the world to find out. Number 1. Whalers Bay, Deception Island, Antarctica. Starting in the early 1900s, Deception Bay served as a premier destination for whalers, who used the bay as a safe place to process whale carcasses. A Norwegian whaling company established a permanent station during this time, setting up houses for the workers and installing giant boilers used to extract oil from whales. The station was abandoned in 1931 due to lowering whale oil prices, but the bay's history does not end there. Several countries squabbled over the island during and after World War II, but then everyone threw in the towel after a volcanic eruption in 1969. Phew. Today, the bay is a common stop on Antarctic expedition cruises. Here's how to visit. Book a cruise with Lindblad Expeditions to explore the deserted site for yourself. Don't worry, it's not just about the whaling station. If you're lucky, you might even spot some chinstrap penguins and get to soak in a natural hot tub. Yes, seriously. Number 2, Thames Town, Shanghai, China. China is a big fan of replica cities. In fact, Shanghai has 7 European-themed towns built to give wealthy residents a new place to call home. There's a Dutch-inspired, canal-lined neighborhood, a Paris replica complete with 300-foot Eiffel Tower, and even a slice of Sweden-inspired churches and Nordic houses included. But we're particular fans of Thames Town, a British copycat just 40 minutes from downtown Shanghai. Here you'll find a scale replica of Christ Church, statues of Shakespeare and Winston Churchill, and even some familiar red telephone booths scattered here and there. As curiously cute as this mini-city sounds on paper, it ended up being a complete failure. In fact, all of the 7 experimental towns are now pretty much abandoned. Here's how to visit. Travelers are more than welcome to walk the cobblestone streets of all 7 replica cities. To get to Thames Town, Time Out Shanghai recommends taking the Shanghai Metro Line 9 to the Songjiang Xincheng station, then take a taxi the rest of the way. Only about 2.5 miles and $2. Number 3, Krakow, Italy. Founded in the 8th century, the hilltop town of Krakow had a rough go of things for several centuries, falling victim to earthquakes, wars, and the Black Plague. The final straw was a landslide in 1963, which forced all remaining residents to evacuate. The original city sits in a state of slow decay on its 1,300-foot high perch, although its popularity among tourists has yet to waver. Here's how to visit. You can reach Krakow by car, but don't expect to get in without a ticket and a guide. The Commune di Krakow website explains exactly how to reach the visitors center and who to contact to book a tour. Number 4, Bodhi, California. Now this is the Old West ghost town you're looking for. Once home to 10,000 people, Bodhi boomed in the late 1880s after gold was found in the hills surrounding Mono Lake. Not long after though, Bodhi transitioned into a period of steady decline, as mining towns are wont to do, until reaching ghost town status around 1915, according to California Department of Parks and Recreation records. So why is the city in such great shape today? You can thank the state of California for adopting the town and turning it into a state historic park in 1962. Bodhi has been preserved in an unnerving state of arrested decay, shunning graffiti artists and welcoming visitors from nearby Yosemite ever since. Here's how to visit. Bodhi State Historic Park is located northeast of Yosemite and can be reached by car from Highway 395. The California Department of Parks and Recreation has more detailed directions online, and warns that the last 3 miles of the dirt road route can be a tad bumpy. Number 5, Wyoda, South Island, New Zealand. In the early 1900s, miners built a town right on top of a whole lot of gold-bearing quartz rock. which would go on to produce 750,000 ounces of gold from 1.5 million tons of quartz, according to New Zealand's Department of Conservation. By the 1930s, the town had its own hospital, police station, and post office, plus a population of 600. The isolated city thrived until the main mining shaft collapsed in 1951, forcing residents to abandon their town. Today, the Department of Conservation works to preserve the remaining buildings and hiking trails around the site. The department even converted one of the buildings, the Wyoda Lodge, into a 30-bunk facility for school groups and campers needing overnight accommodation. In the early 1900s, miners built a town right on top of a whole lot of gold-bearing quartz rock, which would go on to produce 750,000 ounces of gold from 1.5 million tons of quartz, according to New Zealand's Department of Conservation. By the 1930s, the town had its own hospital, police station, and post office, plus a population of 600. The isolated city thrived until the main mining shaft collapsed in 1951, forcing residents to abandon their town. Today, the Department of Conservation works to preserve the remaining buildings and hiking trails around the site. The department even converted one of the buildings, the Wyoda Lodge, into a 30-bunk facility for school groups and campers needing overnight accommodation. Number 6. Colemanskop, Namibia. You wouldn't guess by looking at it now, but the town of Colemanskop was once a hotspot of diamond mining and extravagance in 1908. But once the fair-weather inhabitants discovered more diamonds south of Colemanskop, the site instantly became a ghost town. Here's how to visit. Hour-long tours are offered every day. Tickets can be purchased in the town of Luderitz, about 5 miles southeast of Colemanskop. Number 7. Oradour Sir Glenn, France. Warning. It's a dark one. On June 10, 1944, German troops raided the village of Oradour Sir Glenn and murdered 642 men, women, and children. After the massacre, the military set fire to churches, barns, and homes, leaving behind only a few surviving residents. The village has remained untouched since the horrific incident, serving as a shrine to those who died that June day. Here's how to visit. Your best bet is to rent a car and drive there. If you're coming from the north, take the A20 auto route and start following signs for Oradour Sir Glenn. Number 8. Pyramidin, Svalbard, Norway. The archipelago of Svalbard, located halfway between mainland Norway and the North Pole, is home to about 2,145 humans, 1,000 polar bears, and one seriously bone-chilling ghost town, Pyramidin, named for the pyramid-shaped mountain looming nearby. Pyramidin came to prominence in the 1930s, when the Soviets took ownership of the area's coalfields and quickly began mining operations. After World War II, they started spending more money on the enterprise, building hospitals, cafeterias, and houses, all in the block-style fashion typical of Soviet-era architecture. They also built graveyards for both humans and cats, because pet cemeteries are always a good idea. The coal mines here were never profitable, however. The biggest hit came in 1996, when an airplane flying from Moscow to Svalbard crashed en route, killing all 141 passengers on board, many of them Pyramidin residents. The tragedy slashed morale and the site was fully abandoned in 1998. Here's how to visit. Plan to stay in Longyearbyen, Svalbard's largest city. From there, Visit Svalbard says you can reach Pyramidin by boat, in the summer, or snowmobile, in the winter. You can also take a multi-day guided tour through Spitsbergen Adventures or Grumman Arctic Travel. Number 9. Kenicott, Alaska. Nearly $200 million worth of copper was processed in Kenicott, a self-contained mining town located in Wrangell Street Elias National Park, from 1911 to 1938, according to the National Park Service. As these stories usually go, the residents cleared out once the copper resources started to dwindle and most of the buildings have now been abandoned for around 60 years. There is hope on the horizon, however. The NPS acquired many of Kennicott's buildings and lands in 1998, and hope to restore some of the buildings, like the post office and general store, for modern use. Here's how to visit. The NPS-run visitor center is open from Memorial Day through Labor Day, where you can pick up brochures or arrange a guided tour with a park ranger. Kennicott's Recreation Hall, fully restored in 2004, is also available to rent for events. Number 10. Pripyat, Ukraine. Pripyat was the city most affected by the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in 1986. An infamous incident that released massive amounts of radiation out into the world. The accident forced entire towns to abruptly empty out, and the area within a 19-mile radius of the plant was deemed uninhabitable for at least another 180 years. Here's how to visit. The Chernobyl region is about 2 hours away from Kiev, and tours range from private visits to multi-day itineraries.